To the UBC Okanagan Master of Data Science Alumni Virtual Information Session. My name is Khalad Hasan, and I'm an assistant professor of computer science at UBC Okanagan. I'm also serving as a co-director for the Master of Data Science program. We are excited to share information about our program, and we look forward to addressing any questions that you may have. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that UBC Okanagan is situated in the territory of Silks Okanagan Nation and their people. I would also like to acknowledge that you are joining us today from many places, near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. Today, we have three MDS alumni with us today who will share their experience studying Master of Data Science at UBC Okanagan. We'll not be discussing any admission or application-related questions in this event. Today, we'll be discussing questions that you submitted when registering for this event. As you have limited time, only 1 hour, we selected the most frequent questions for this event. We also encourage the audience to ask any questions to our panelists to share their experience studying the program at UBC Okanagan. There is a Q&A chat functionalities at the bottom of the screen. Please feel free to use that to ask questions to our alumni. Now, I would like to introduce our panelists today. As I mentioned earlier, we have 3 alumni with us today. I would like each of them to take a moment to introduce themselves. I'm going to first start with Ngan. She completed the MBS program in 2020. And could you please introduce yourself and share some details about your background prior to joining the MBS program?
Sure, Khalad. I was, when I joined, I was a bit older. So I was an infectious diseases physician. And I had been practicing for a few years. And so in terms of my background prior to that, I did an undergraduate degree in chemistry, but that was over a decade before I joined the MDS. And then I did an MD and I did a residency. And I had finished my formal clinical training in 2012, and then I did a couple of years working in a research lab until 2014. So I had been working for a few years when I joined the MDS in 2019. In terms of my background relevant to data science, so I had actually not taken any formal statistics courses before joining, although we do get a lot of statistics training in clinical medicine. And then I had taken one summer course in coding in Java as an undergraduate student, but I really had no, very little computer or coding background.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your background. And now I'll move to Craig, who recently graduated from the MDS program. Please introduce yourself, Craig, and provide us some background.
Yes, thank you. So basically, I started with a business management and psychology double bachelor's, and I began in 2006. So I was also a mature student coming into MDS. And then I started a contracting company for a few years and ended up in the oil field. So I picked it all back up and graduated from that in 2019. And since then, I believe it started in 2018, the first cohort. So it was just afterwards that I heard about the program finishing the management through UBCO. And it just intrigued me. It seemed like it was something that I would be interested in going down the road. So fast forward, I did apply a few times and I got rejected. And basically the last summer, I upgraded 3 of the statistics and computer science programs and did very well and finally got accepted the 4th time around. And after I was accepted, I left the oil field and I'm currently in a career transition myself. And yeah, excited for what's to come.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Our next panelist is Varshita, who completed her program in 2023. Please introduce yourself, Varshita.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Varshita Kyal, and I'm excited to be here today. I did my bachelor's in electrical and electronics engineering, and my journey is similar to Craig. I also did a career transition. So just after graduating, I went to Nigeria where I worked for a manufacturing company. It was an FMCG company, and my area of work mostly revolved around working with data. So there where I picked up my interest in data, and I wanted to pursue a career, and so I decided I need a degree. So okay, then I'm like, okay, I should do a master's course so that I would be having better knowledge in this. And then I came here to Canada, and now I'm currently working as a business system analyst with City of Kelowna. And I'm really looking forward to sharing my experience today and learnings with you all today. And thank you, Dr. Khalad, for inviting me to be a part of this talk.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Varshita. Now I'm going to start off with our first question from which was submitted when audience registered for this event. So my first question is, what made you to choose the MDS program? Why did you select a master's in data science program over a research-based master's program? So I'll let Nang to comment on this question first.
Yeah, so there were two main reasons. The first the first reason is that it's an accelerated program, and so it's less than a year. And because I already have a profession and I have to maintain kind of certification and licensure in my profession, I'm not able to take more than a year off in order to do any additional training. And then the second reason is, I wasn't looking for a career change. I was looking to grow in my current profession. And so, and I felt that I needed to acquire a new skill set. And I had some exposure when I was working as a research fellow in bioinformatics, and I had been given the advice that this might be an area that I should pursue in the future. And so I felt like I needed to get, in my field, it's kind of a long road, but you have to get that kind of practical research experience within within a lab or a group. And I felt like I needed something concrete to offer to say that I had this skill set that set me apart, and that would make me useful in a new environment. So those are the two reasons.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask the same question to Craig. What made you to choose MDS program? Why this is over a research-based master's program?
Yes, of course. There are, I guess, a few reasons, but to touch on that, because of the psychology background, I would have had to pursue a master's and then a PhD and go down that route, or I was considering law school at the time. So the accelerated pace of it did intrigue me as well. But it was more so because having worked in the oil field, it's still very valuable, but data is obviously going forward going to be the most valuable resource. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and this program kind of suited that, where, in the future, hopefully I can secure a long-term career that's going to stay consistent as opposed to the oil field. And also I I finished up the double bachelor's through Western University at UBCO through their management program as a distance studies student. And having gone through that and meeting the professors on campus here, I had a little bit of bias, as Kelowna is beautiful and UBCO has a lot of great professors and help. So those are the two main reasons that stand out to me.
Okay, thank you, Craig. For Varshita, do you want to follow up on this? What made you to choose MDS program?
Yeah, sure. As I said, it was a career change for me, and I was looking for options to explore, and I didn't want to stay in Nigeria. I was looking my future ahead in a great place like Canada. So I stumbled upon checking out the MDS course provided by Okanagan. And the main thing that appealed to me much was the accelerated nature. It was 10-month course, and it was a professional course overall, and it also had a capstone component on it. So that would give me experience to work with the industries in Canada and give me a little bit of work experience to further find a job. So that was one. Lastly, as I was coming from a working background to studies, so I know that transition would be a bit difficult. So I don't wanted to drag it for long and wanted to complete it as soon as I can and start earning again. So yeah, those were the two main reasons for choosing this accelerated course.
Okay, thank you, Varshita. Like as you all mentioned, yes, like this is an accelerated program. It's a 10-month program compared to a traditional 2-year research-based master's program. And one of the nice thing about this program is the structure allows students to complete their study in a shorter time frame while still gaining the required skills and knowledge necessary for a successful career in the data science. I'll move to the next question. Our next question is, what did you find to be the most challenging aspect of the program? I'll turn it over to Craig to comment on this first.
Yes, in my case, just coming from business background and psychology, there were like psychometrics and statistics courses, and I was good at that portion of it. However, the computer science programming background was a little lacking in my case. So personally, I found the actual coding to be the most difficult. And last summer I did upgrade as well and did a couple Python courses and got a certificate myself. So that was the most challenging part for me. So if there's others with similar backgrounds, just to try to practice that a little more.
Okay, thank you very much, Craig. Do you want to follow up on it, Varshita? What did you find to be the most challenging aspect of this program?
The most challenging part which I found was time management, because as the course is an accelerated 10-month course, and it gives you all the necessary skills and tools that you would be needing to flourish as a data scientist. So it's data scientist is a big term. You definitely need a lot of skills to become one, and so in the initial days, it was challenging. So I suggest the upcoming students to prepare themselves well ahead of time. Like what I used to do is like book my calendars and have a daily to-do list. And I made sure I did at least 90% before going to bed. So that helped me catching up with the studies, and also coming from working to studies, it was a bit difficult. So the transition was smooth, and the courses as it was started from the very basic to the advanced level. It didn't feel like a great shock in the beginning. So the transition was smooth, and yeah, I would suggest time management for me was the most challenging.
Okay, oh, wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. What about you now?
Yeah, so I mean, my background, with very little background in coding and statistics. So if I had to choose one, I guess I would say the coding, just because of the thought processes were very foreign to me. And, I could see that the other students didn't struggle as much as I did with this in the beginning.
Thank you for sharing your experience. Yes, like we know that like students are coming from different background. Like as you can see here, our panelists, they also have like different background, but we try to make sure that all the students reach a kind of a similar level of understanding and expertise when they finish the course. This is basically one of the reason when we designed the course, we designed it carefully so that students from different background can still join the program and be successful in their career. Okay, as you already know that it's a 10-month accelerated program, and within this 10-month, students, they have to take 24 one-credit courses along with the capstone project. So my next question, we already discussed about it a little bit, but the question is, can you please tell your experience with the pacing and intensity of the program compared to your undergraduate studies? Was it manageable? So I'll start with Varshita this time.
Yeah, so I did my bachelor's back from India, so it might be different from what it is, the bachelor's is here. So during my bachelor's, I had to do like 7 courses in a month of 4 to 5 months. But in this case, I have to do 4 courses in 5 weeks. So that was a huge transition. And not saying that it was very difficult, it was definitely manageable as the course structure is such it caters to every individual from different backgrounds. So it was good transition for everyone. And I definitely suggest to go through the prerequisites before coming to the course. That would help you. And there are students in this course which are typically from CS background, so you might feel a little bit lag if you don't follow up on the prerequisites. So the pacing and intensity, I would say, was good enough. Everybody can catch up, and yeah, if you have a proper time management, so everything is manageable. So nothing to scare anybody. It is quite doable.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing the experience. What about you, Ngan? Could you please share your thought on the intensity and the pace of the program? Was it manageable?
Yeah, so I definitely think it was manageable, especially since I didn't have a very strong statistics or coding background. I think, if you compare it to your undergraduate studies, that was a long time ago, but I feel like it's very different. So in undergrad, there's a lot of autonomy, right? You kind of have your exams kind of quarterly. But in between, there's this autonomy. I felt like with the MDS, it was a lot more structured, and you're followed more closely because every week there are quizzes, assignments, and the material builds on each other. So there's not really an opportunity to fall behind as much as you would in undergrad with the frequent evaluations. And then the other thing is with undergrad, I think that being said, it's sort of a more high stakes environment. Your goal is not just to learn the material, but also to do well relative to other people in your program. Whereas I felt like with the MDS, my goal anyways, and I think generally with a lot of graduate studies, is just to acquire the skills and gain proficiency, and you focus on that learning, which is kind of nice.
Okay, thank you very much. What are your thoughts, Greg? As a recent graduate from the program, did you find the program intensity in comparison? Like, how did you find the program intensity in comparison to your undergraduate or similar studies? And also, was the workload manageable?
Yes, so it was quite different for me. It is manageable, definitely. But I learned very quick in the program that, different from the undergrad, similar to the autonomy that Ngan was talking about, is in the beginning, I would not have a fast pace, and I'd always have to catch up on things. And then I learned very shortly that there is very free time, at least in my case. So I ended up in my undergrad and from fabricating, when I did time motion studies and pricing algorithms, I had to time everything. So I began that process early on, which I'm fortunate for because it kind of told me where to allocate my time. So in my case, again, with the coding heavy projects, I took, up to 90 hours per month on some of those courses. So I had everything timed out. I did do a brief time management presentation for this year's cohort. So that's the small piece of advice I can give anyone is just if you can't directly do it, just time everything, and then you kind of know what's taking you the longest, where you're challenged, and where you need to allocate more of the time, right?
Yep. Thank you very much for sharing your experience on this one. Yes, I think that time management is a very critical piece here because we have only 10 months, and within the 10 months, students need to take 24 courses plus a capstone project. So it's a very intense program because the goal of the program is to, within a short time frame, students can just gain the necessary skills and go back to the job market again. Okay, now my next question is about a similar topic, which is basically on the doing part-time job. So there were questions: were you able to work a part-time job while completing the program? I'm going to start with Ngan on this question this time.
So no, I didn't have a part-time job, and I don't think I would have been able to have a part-time job because I was sort of behind in terms of the basic knowledge, and I had to learn that. I did work over the holidays, but otherwise, I also have a family. I had, small kids also. So when I wasn't studying, I was with my kids. But I do know that there were other students who did have jobs and they had that time, particularly the ones who had some, background in statistics or coding.
Thank you. What about you, Craig? Do you think it's manageable to work part-time while completing the program?
Similar to Ngan, I think personally I would not be able to fit in a part-time job. There's very little free time in my case. So again, a lot of the students didn't have a part-time job from last year's cohort either. But I think there was a handful that possibly were doing part-time and maybe had family on the side as well. But yes, depending on your background, I would advise not to, or try to free up. I basically freed up a year, got a year lease, and just committed to a year in Kelowna and sacrificed that year. So,
Wonderful. Okay. Do you want to add anything, Varshita, on this?
So my experience was a bit different, as I came as an international student, and I was living off my savings. So I felt the need of doing part-time job. Not say by saying that I did not compromise on my studies. I just managed my time really well. And before coming here, I stopped working 4 months before coming here, so I could concentrate more on my prerequisites. So I did some training courses in Python, SQL, and R before coming here. So the initial transition was quite smoothened for me. And this gave me a time to go to part-time and also take care of my needs. And also saying that I also needed some time off work as well that would free up the clutter of all the studies. And it also provided a good free time to interact with other people during part time and make more connections outside the program.
Okay, wonderful. I have the next question, which is on, since this is a graduate level program, is it necessary to have a strong background in data science before starting the program? Let's start off with Craig this time.
I would say it would definitely be beneficial. It's not necessary, I wouldn't think so, but you just have to make more effort. Similar to what we've all kind of discussed so far is depending on your background, you would have to sacrifice more time, and what takes some of the computer science backgrounds or data science undergraduates, they would, zoom through some tasks where you might have to spend 5 times as much time to complete the same task, right? So it would definitely be beneficial.
Yeah, thank you very much, Craig. What about you, Varshita? Like, given this is a graduate level program, is a strong data science background necessary before starting the program?
No, definitely not. You are coming to pursue this program to have a strong background in data science. So you definitely don't need to have a strong background before starting. The only thing was the program is so well structured. So it caters to everyone from different background. And if you are coming having a basic, which is whatever was there in the prerequisites, if you are thorough with those basic statistics, basic coding, even if you just do one coding languages, this other coding languages are similar, but just the syntaxes are different. So that would be very helpful. And yeah, keeping up with the time, that's all necessary to being successful in this program.
Okay, thank you very much, Varshita. Do you want to provide any additional information on this question then?
No, I mean, yeah, I agree with everyone else. So no. And obviously for me, I wasn't, I didn't have that background and I didn't do any courses in preparation either. And so, yes, I do think the way the program is structured, it can take you from zero to, a level where, where I'd say that that you're proficient. Yeah, so yes, so no.
Yes, Sure, thank you very much. Yes, I also agree with all of you that the curriculum here, we designed it in such a way so that it accommodates students from various disciplines, including those students who may not have a strong foundation in the data science. And also students are eligible to apply for the program as long as they meet the prerequisite, which is listed on our website. Based on my past experience, many students have excelled in this program and they successfully build their data science career regardless their prior background in data science. So I'm going to move to the next question, which is how can student best prepare for the program? I know that you already briefly talked about it, but I would like to ask the same question one more time that, for instance, should they focus on any specific topic before joining the program? In such a case, whether that would be helpful. I know that we shared on this one, but let's have a quick recap on this one. Ngan, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, as someone who didn't prepare, I think looking back, it would have been good to, I guess, programming in Python, SQL. I think those are kind of foundational skills. And then had I done that, I would have been able to, I guess, focus more on sort of the higher level tasks, and less anxiety around the quizzes and the tests. So yeah.
Okay. Do you want to add anything, Varshita?
Yeah, sure. Nothing new, but yeah, prerequisites is very much needed. So I know people who have done prerequisites, they might have done it like 3 years back or 5 years back. But it's very necessary to just brush it up just before coming so that it will give you a good start and give you confidence as well while you are starting off with the assignments and everything. You would be quite quick, and this will gear you up for the coming difficult part of the course. So yes, it is highly and highly recommended to go through basic statistics, Python, SQL, R. And if you want, yeah, I know it's basic Excel that would also be doing. Yeah, so prerequisites are more important.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. Yes, but the program is designed to ensure that all the students they actually reach the same level regardless their prior background. However, like as this is an accelerated program, any preparation students take before joining the program helps them to be succeed in this like short time frame program and so on. Like for instance, if student can get a chance to familiarize the key data science data science concepts and learning relevant topics that might be give them a strong foundation before they start the program. So yes, we received question from the audience as well. So one of the question is what drew you to the Okanagan campus? Anyone wants to start?
Sorry, can you please repeat the question?
So the question is, what drew you to the Okanagan campus? Why did you selected the Okanagan campus for the MDS program?
Yeah, I would answer that. Actually, I never applied for the Vancouver campus in the first place. My target was to get into an Okanagan campus because of the cohort size, and that gives a good interaction between all the students, and the teachers know you personally, and there is a close-knit society where you all can grow together and learn together. So, and I've heard like Kelowna is also a very beautiful city, so that also. And I am not a city person, I'm more like a quiet living in a small city, not as big as fast-paced Vancouver. So that was my personal choice as well.
Okay, thank you, Varshita. Do you want to add anything on this, Craig?
Sure, I'll just be quick. She kind of covered everything. It is a smaller campus in Vancouver, so that definitely excited me as well. Seemed to be more focused and, technically speaking, there would be more time per student for each professor and teacher's assistant. So that was intriguing to me as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Nang, do you want to follow up on this?
I was living in Kelowna already, so it made sense for me not to move to Vancouver.
Okay. Yes. So just to give you a bit more information, since the beginning of the program from 2018, we have been keeping the cohort size small so that there is a close interaction between the student and like teachers and so on. And we would like to there are courses that are developed where we actually take advantage of our award-winning professors here to teach those like different courses and so on. So we have a related question which I'm going to ask next. And the question is, how supportive are the instructors when student encounters difficulties with the course materials or homework? Are they available and approachable? I'm going to start with Varshita on this question.
Yeah, definitely. I would say instructors, we were very glad to have such amazing instructors. They were always there to help you, and there is not one platform through which you can reach them. There are several. Like my favorite was the Slack channel. Like you can post any questions there, and they would answer it immediately. Even if the teacher couldn't, there are a lot of the students who would answer it. And we had groups for each courses, so the questions don't mingle up. And next is the office hours of the professors and TAs as well. So during labs or during classes, if you need anything, they are so engaging. And if you ask any question, it will be immediately clarified. If not in the class, after the class, definitely. And you have their email IDs, you can show them email anytime. And yeah, you will get a reply immediately as well. So yeah, was a very good set of instructors and TAs.
Yeah, thank you very much, Varshita. I'm going to ask the same question to Craig. What are your thoughts on the support available for students from the instructors and the TAs? Were they generally accessible and approachable?
Yes, of course, the professors were all great and generally available. Also, the teachers' assistants were quite helpful for me as well if the professors were busy. One thing I will say is if you get a question or a trouble, in a task, to try to reach out right away, because unlike the undergraduate programs, like each week something's due. So the earlier you can kind of get your questions down and discuss it with someone, the better. Because once that week's over, then we're on to the next task.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do you want to add anything on this, Ngan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, the year that was 2020, there was the COVID pandemic that happened, and actually, I had to go back in March 2020. I was asked to go back to work, and so I had to go back for 6 weeks, and so I missed an entire block of courses, and the professors were really accommodating in meeting up with me individually and trying to catch me up and give me my exams and quizzes individually so that I would be able to graduate at the same time as everyone else. And then, also with the capstone, we had a great group working with Statistics Canada for a capstone project, and we needed some help around the statistics for it. And the professors were very accessible in providing advice to help us along with our capstone project.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. We got a similar question in the audience, which is actually related to the intensity of the program and whether it contributes to building a community with the students. So that if I ask the question, did the intensive component of the program contribute to building community with other students? Anyone wants to take this question and provide your opinion on it?
Yeah, sure. I would like to take it up. The thing was, as it was very fast paced and it was considered as a full-time job. So everything was so fast paced and all the assignments are due in the next week. So and every day in the lab hours you get the assignment and everybody started working on it and everybody is on the same page, so nobody is ahead or falling back. It's everybody is on the same page having the same questions to deal with, and there are brainstorming sessions going on as in Slack, so obviously built a good community with all your fellow students and also the professors. And because there are lots of learning, there are some people from different background, they will help you answer some questions much better than person from different background. So yeah, so and having people from different cultures also helped us made good friends. And I'm in touch with everyone from the MDS from the last cohort. So yeah, it was a great networking session as well for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Varshita. So I'll move to the next question, which we collected during the registration for this event. And the next question is, can you describe a typical day in the program in terms of workload and the balance between lecture, labs, and assignments? I'll start with Ngan this time.
Oh gosh. So I was doing this a few years ago, but at the time it was 6 hours of in-person work, 9:30 to 3:30. And we had 3 hours of lecture in the morning and then 3 hours of lab in the afternoon. And I found that was a good balance actually of the lecture and versus lab work.
Okay. So Craig, you are from the very last cohort. Do you want to share if there is any change in the class or in the typical day of an MDS student?
Yeah, so it's typically it varies from block to block, and about around Christmas time, I guess the fourth block becomes more projects, but generally speaking, you'd be up in the morning and get on campus for 9:30 and go till 3:30 with an hour lunch. And then after that, you'd have another slim break and then have the lab. And then you kind of decompress. I would go to the gym and eat dinner and then head to the library at night. So that was a typical day for me.
Okay. Thank you very much. Like I can summarize a typical day for this block, which is very similar to what both of you mentioned. Like classes held from Monday to Thursday from 9:30 to 12:30. And then we have the lab from 1:30 to 3:30. So typically there are no classes on Friday, so which is nice because it allows the students to have kind of a 3-day weekend. But for the 4 days, we share lots of course content, course materials that help students to learn about the data science. So during the 3 off days, typically students needs to study those materials, work on the lab, work on the project and other different component and so on. So as all of the alumni mentioned, that it's a kind of a fast-paced program. So time management is one of the critical things. So though we have only 4-day lectures, but it is important to manage the time properly for the other 3 days to work on other different like projects and so on. We have received questions from the audience. Like one of the question is, would this program help pave the way for PhD in data science down the road, as this program does not have a thesis component? So I can probably just quickly answer this one. So from our past experience, we saw students like who actually pursue PhD, like PhD after graduating from this program. So from our experience, we saw this pattern. However, this number is very low. Like we saw more students going into the industry rather than going to the higher studies. Okay. We also received question about finding career support, like support from the MDS program in terms of preparing students for their future career, such as like help students with their resume preparation, interview preparation, or career advising, and so on. So more specifically, the question is, did the program provide support in finding career opportunity? For example, did the program offer career-related workshop, events, or mentorship program? I'm going to let Craig to comment on this first.
Yes, so Sonia, actually the career go-to person in our case, and probably going forward for a bit here, she would set up the workshops and try to squeeze them into the schedule depending on the course load and the block size. So yeah, there was a bunch of workshops throughout the year, And as long as you follow up with them and, you can visit them and make some time to see the professors and or advisors, they were very helpful. And going forward, I'll definitely keep some of the, excuse me, some of the lessons I learned, as well as the resume preparation and whatnot, definitely in my back pocket.
Yeah, thank you very much, Greg. You want to add anything now? Because you graduated in 2020. It's been a while since you completed the program, but
Yeah.
did you
Yeah, I
remember?
think, well, relevant to me would be, I guess, mentorship. I think, I'm still in contact with one of my professors, still, reviewing some of the work that I do by him and getting that input. So it's kind of nice because he's totally outside of everyone else that I interact with, or even, collaborating on projects, because we ended up after the MDS completed, we were able to get some funding to do a project with the Canadian Society Statistical Institute. So yeah, definitely for mentorship.
Okay, thank you very much. Varshita, do you want to follow up on this question?
Yeah, sure. Like Sonia, she was a very good person for giving all the advices. I remember she reviewed my resume even after graduating in June 2023. So that was really great commitment from her side. Also, Crystal was there when I was there. I know she has left now. She also helped in arranging a lot of events. Like I remember there was headshot for professional photographer LinkedIn. So those were the things that were really nice. And also before starting a capstone project or going towards the ending of the program where you are confused whether to apply for jobs, when to apply for jobs. So there were sessions related to those as well. And apart from MDS, UBC as a whole, they have different clubs and chapters where you can register yourself, and they do a lot of events apart from all these things. So please take advantage of that as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Varshita, for summarizing everything. Yes, we do have workshops. We do have dedicated career advisor providing career related support to the students, and we frequently organize different workshops for career building. So yes, there are all these supports available for students who wants to pursue a data science at MDS Okanagan. So I'd like to move to some question related to career path. So my first question here is, what career path or job title do graduate typically pursue after completing the program? I'm going to let Varshita to comment on this first.
So there are a lot of options. Data science is a huge umbrella. Under that, there are different segments like analysis part, building pipelines, working on algorithms. So all different depends upon your interest. So some like to go with data analysis, some likes to go with data engineer, ML engineer, and some get the data scientist position. But initial starting position would be data analyst, because data scientist position require more of a domain knowledge. So if you have a good experience in that domain, definitely you can go for being a data scientist. But the data engineer and data analyst is a good stepping stone towards that. And as our field is so evolving, there are so many new job titles coming up. So like prompt engineers, and there are large language models going on in full swing these days. So and we and AI is the future for sure. So yes, so there is a lot of job opportunities and job titles.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Varshita. What do you think now, from your experience, what career path or job title do students pursue after graduating?
I don't know if I have as much to say about this. I know in my class or in my capstone group, we had worked with Statistics Canada, and one of the students ended up, or I think two of the students in our group had job offers from Statistics Canada, and one of them ended up working for Statistics Canada for a few years. So that would be my experience around that.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your experience. Okay, I'm going to move to the next question, which is, what is the most valuable lesson or skill you have gained from MDS? I'll start with Craig this time.
I would say, sounds strange, but time management for me, I think would be, because now I have an idea of how long certain tasks will take. So even when I want to take a personal project on, or because I am currently applying for work, I don't have any work experience projects yet, but I'll have a better idea as to how long something will take. So for instance, I'm into the hockey and the NHL. So if I'm trying to, say, come up with a model to predict player performance, I know it's not going to be done in one night. So for me, I think the biggest takeaway, not the specific direct skills, there's lots of them with Python, R, SQL, Excel as well, among others. But in terms of like soft skills, I would say time management was the biggest one for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Craig. What about you now? What is the most valuable lesson or skill you have gained from MDS?
Yeah, I think for me, because I have my my background and in infectious diseases, and so I have that domain knowledge, and I think being able, being able to approach a problem, just having a different perspective with the data science, approaching the problem differently. It was a pretty eye-opening experience. I would say, for instance, that I was fairly skeptical of AI, but having a better understanding of what goes into it. Less skeptical now, but also, being able to understand what the limitations are around it, or what potentially takes a long time and what doesn't take a long time to set up. So that, I think, is the most valuable lesson for me. And I think for anyone with some existing domain knowledge, there's really a lot of value there, if you're not considering a career change even.
Okay. Thank you. What do you think for this question, Varshita? What is the most valuable lesson or skill you have gained from the MDS program?
So it's very difficult to pick one. It's a combination of both technical and soft skills, because this program provide you with the platform on working on projects using all your technical knowledge. But at the end of the project, you have to explain it to the audience, and that is where the communication skills come in. So the soft skills, that is also very important, because you will not only encounter very technical people in your workplace, you have to explain it to your management, which is not very techy, and you have to explain them in a layman terms. And how well you do that, it's the final game, because you're presenting it to the management. So I would say together, soft skills and technical skills built in together was a great combination, which I learned from this course.
Okay, wonderful. It's nice to hear all this like different information shared from you. I have a question about industry collaboration, and specifically the question was, were there opportunities for industry collaboration during the program, such as internship or co-ops? I'll let Varshita this time to comment on this.
Yeah, sure. So the most lucrative part of going for this course was the capstone, because I knew for sure I would be working with some industry in Canada, and I was lucky to get Siemens, and I previously had experience in manufacturing, so it was just very great for me to have that experience. And I worked in natural language processing, which have never done that before. And during the course, while I was doing with my team members, we had all the support from the teachers, from TAs, and also it was a proper office setup where we used to work from 9 to 5, like as we do in normal office, but it was from Monday to Thursday, of course. And we have weekly updates to the capstone partner. So that gave a real taste of what the real office environment would look like, and it was all clubbed into an 8 week period. So we had that timeline in mind as well, and yeah, so it was a great opportunity that MDS provides as a part of Capstone. It also helps you get a job further, and if you do really well, they might even hire you after the Capstone. So yeah, that was a great opportunity as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's very nice to hear this experience from you. So I'm going to ask the same question to Craig. Were there any opportunities or any collaboration opportunities with the industry partner when you were completing your program?
Yeah, I'll briefly follow up on what Varshita said. So basically, with the capstone, it was a good opportunity to not only work with real world data, but also converse with a client or a partner. And that was very helpful in terms of kind of structuring your week because it's not a job technically, but yeah, if you want to put forth your best effort, then I based it on kind of like a 40-hour week. And I think in our cohort, there was only a couple that were like, I think in the public healthcare section, they had to be somewhere and in person. But whether it's in person or remote, you need to have some discipline to set up a 40-hour work week at least. So that was a good experience. And as far as the co-op goes, I think because it's just a 10-month accelerated program, I don't believe that's an option. I don't know the technical aspects of that, but while I'm applying for work, a lot of the co-op internships require that. So because you don't return, I'm not sure if it falls under that for a co-op position.
Okay. Thank you very much, Craig. Do you want to follow up or share your experience working with the industry partner for Capstone, Ngan?
Yeah, so we had worked with Statistics Canada, and that was a remote. The Statistics Canada people were in Ottawa, and so, but it was still a great experience. And like I said, two out of the four of us had job offers from Statistics Canada. I think one of the students took the job, and then the other student found a different job, and so seemed to have a couple options. So it was very valuable, and it was there was a lot of flexibility. There was, I think, a bit more flexibility as well compared to some other projects to tailor it around your interests too.
Okay. We only have 5 minutes, but I would like to just briefly go through the questions. Remaining questions, probably I'll just ask one question to Craig. What was the capstone project experience like? What were your daily responsibilities during the project? Like, if you can just give us a brief overview of how the capstone project, like your time management during the capstone projects and so on, or your daily timeline.
Okay, I'll be super brief. So basically, like I say, set up for a 40-hour work week at least. And your daily task will differ from week to week, of course. From what the mentors taught me and from my personal experience, at least with our capstone project, is 90% of the time you're pre-processing and cleaning data. And then 10% of the time, which towards the end you build the models. So yeah, I would say depending on the client and the data you're working with, expect to be pre-processing and cleaning a lot.
Yeah. I have one question to quickly ask Varshita and Nang, and the question is, did you find MDS program helpful in securing a job? So probably Varshita, like you can go first.
Yes, definitely. As I said earlier, it was my career change. I never had a degree before in anything related to data. So doing masters in data science and now currently working with the government sector, it the fields whatever I did in Capstone is just replicated but with different people and little more intense. So I would say MDS give you a good taste of what actual work life would look like. And time management skills, of course, was the major thing that everyone have learned in this course. So yeah, so overall experience and the job which I'm doing now is all because I graduated and gained the required skills. And also apart from that, I would suggest everyone coming here, networking is the biggest thing here. So MDS will teach you everything, but networking is your own hand. So you should have your LinkedIn profile well set up before coming, and start networking from the day one, because most of the jobs, like it or not, majority of jobs is coming from referrals right nowadays. So just online applying won't do it. So yes, networking is also one of the biggest part to consider while securing a job here.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Varshita. Do you want to add anything on this one, Ngan?
Sure. So, I mean, for me, it was not so much as getting a completely different job, but ultimately, after I completed the program, I did feel like I needed kind of one of these more on the ground experiences. So I did get a job at one of the Oxford clinical research units internationally to work as a physician researcher and data scientist for a year. And I would not have been able to get that position had I not had data science training. And I think one of the professors wrote me a reference letter for that, so that was great. And then coming, and just in my work in Kelowna, so being promoted, it's a bit easier to be promoted if you have a master's in your teaching sort of aspects, and so yes, that it was helpful.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much, both of you. I'm going to move to the very last question for our event today. And the question is overall, how was your MDS experience? I'll let Craig to share his experience first.
Okay, sure. Yeah, it was excellent experience for me. I kind of enjoyed once I got into the groove of things, the program overall, even though it was very fast paced and I had to put forth a lot of effort and time. But kind of like what we touched on earlier, because it is a smaller cohort at Kelowna, UBCO, you tend to be closer. Not to say it can't happen with the 200-person class, but that was very beneficial. So talking with students and even just on a personal level, like I am in touch with most of them even to this day on LinkedIn or in other social media platforms. So that was very beneficial. And then in terms of the skill set, they cover quite a bit. And I'm continuing to learn more outside the program as well. And I'm sure you'll have to upskill along the way. So once I become more career oriented, then it's definitely a great program to have after the undergrad for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. How about you, Varshita? Overall, how was your MDS experience?
So the overall experience was quite great. I never could have imagined to learn so many things in a 10-month period. And the Varshita which I entered the course and the one that came out was a different person altogether, grown both professionally as well as personally. So yeah, so all the technical skills, like any course in this world won't teach you everything, but it gives you all the tools and skills at your disposal. So it's up to you how you use it after the course. And we are in such a dynamic field that it requires continuous learning and growing. So yeah, so you have all the resources and you have to use it in a right way to benefit yourself. And overall, the course also gave me a quite good experience working with the industry as well. Yes, and I would surely recommend others as well if they are looking for something which has everything in such a short period of time. It's worth the time and money. So yeah, it was a
Thank
great.
you very much. Thank you very much, Varshita. How about you, Nang?
Yeah, it was a great experience, eye-opening experience. And I think in particular when with data science, it's that trifecta of um, statistics, computers, but also domain knowledge. And so I had my domain, and then I had, and then I acquired these new skills, and I was able to approach or problems differently, think about problems differently. The other thing is in my area, as far as growth in my career, traditionally you think about it in terms of scholarship. or research. And then being in the MDS, you're exposed to, or I was exposed to technology and entrepreneurship, which is very interesting and is also different. And actually, Khalad, I was going to talk to you because the work that I was doing, involved wearable devices, the use of wearable devices in healthcare. And so that's very interesting. So hopefully there's a change in trajectory in terms of professionally, but of course that's a longer term project.
You're wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you, for your time. We have come to the end of our session. Before we conclude, I want to thank our panelists, Ngan, Craig, and Varshita, for sharing their valuable experience today